Brother's epic scare revenge. His tears said it all. When my brother and I were kids, he was 7 and I was 10, he discovered that I was incredibly easy to scare. Even the slightest unexpected noise would send me jumping and screaming. He made a habit out of hiding and then jumping out with a loud boo to startle me. He did this so often that I became afraid to walk through the halls of our own home. This went on for a few years until our parents finally stepped in and told him to knock it off. It did slow down, but he'd still occasionally pull a prank and give me a good scare. That all changed in 2012. My family and I were big fans of Doctor Who, and it was in its 6th series, featuring a new monster called the Silence. These creatures resembled typical gray aliens dressed in sharp suits. The twist was that whenever someone looked away from them, they instantly forgot about them. To remember the characters in the show would draw tally marks on their arms and faces. It was a brilliant concept and executed perfectly in those initial episodes. During the 2nd episode, there's a scene where a character is in an abandoned orphanage looking out the window. Lightning strikes and suddenly her face and arms are covered in tally marks. It was a brilliantly creepy moment. I noticed my brother seemed a bit uneasy during this part. Then I had an idea, a mischievous, petty idea. I asked my dad to pause the episode, claiming I needed to use the bathroom. But instead of heading to the bathroom, I grabbed a Sharpie and covered my face and arms with tally marks. I couldn't contain my excitement. I returned to the TV room with all the lights on. My brother looked at me, perplexed and scared. He started panicking, backing away toward our dad, who asked what was going on. My dad burst into laughter when he saw my tally-marked face. I pretended like nothing was different and walked closer to my brother, who was now even more terrified. After my dad and I had our laughs, he told me to wash up. My brother couldn't continue watching the episode and ran to his room. My dad called my mom to share how I had finally gotten one over on my brother. These days, we don't play pranks on each other anymore. My brother is graduating with his bachelor's degree, and he's going to be one of my groomsmen at my wedding. He's a great guy, and I'm incredibly proud of him. I love him a lot.
Half-sister's wedding dress surprise at my engagement bash. Heather and I never really got along. We're both 24, born just 20 days apart. It's a bit odd because my dad left my mom for her mom, and that has always made things weird. Adding to the weirdness, Heather's mom isn't a fan of my mom or me. So naturally, Heather and I didn't have the strongest relationship. Heather has this habit of trying to outdo me, even though we come from similar economic backgrounds. I could list examples, but I'll keep it short for the sake of word limits. Now, my fiancé and I got engaged last month and had our engagement party last Saturday. We originally planned for a semi-formal event. You know, nice dresses, but not Met Gala level fancy. More like going to a nice restaurant kind of fancy. Then my cousin showed me a picture of the dress Heather was planning to wear. Oh boy, this dress. It's hard to describe, but it's basically opulent. Long, white, strapless, with sewn-in crystals and golden accents. I'm almost certain it's a wedding dress, but I can't say for sure. I was furious. So I decided to change everything. I texted everyone and said we were turning it into a costume party. My mom's side of the family loves Halloween, so they were all in. I texted my dad and asked him to relay the message to Heather and her mom. I knew he'd probably forget or do it at the last minute. Saturday arrives and guests start showing up. Most of them are in costumes, some improvised with fun hats and cheap wigs. Heather, my dad, and her mom show up an hour late. When Heather sees that everyone is either in elaborate costumes or wacky accessories, and she's not standing out in her bride dress, she loses it. My fiancé even tells her that her dress looks great for a cheap costume. She storms off in tears, and her mom and my dad tell me I'm being childish and should have told Heather myself. For those curious about the costumes, my fiancé was dressed as Bubbles, and I was Mojo Jojo. My mom and aunts went as ABBA. Other memorable costumes included Luffy and Zorro, Ian Malcolm and John Hammond, and even Jesus.
How I Made Baby Shark the top song on my sister's Spotify. My 2 sisters and I have this neat arrangement. We all pitch in for various streaming services, a system that grants us access to a bunch of them for just around $20 per month per person. It's a slick setup, no doubt. But in December, my younger sister got all fussy because one of her top Spotify songs happened to be one I listen to a lot. She came at me saying I should cut back on my Spotify usage because technically it was her account, and she didn't want my tunes messing up her Spotify Wrapped. I told her that's not how our deal works. If she wanted out, she could. But until then, I'm free to use it as I please because guess what? I'm footing the bill too. So she didn't bail, but she did start watching Netflix, Hulu, and the like using my profile instead of hers just to bug me. When I called her out on it, she used my own words against me saying, "Aren't we all sharing here?" Alright, game on. See, my sister works at a credit card processing outfit where they've got to lock their phones away to prevent employees from saving folks' credit card info. Meanwhile, I'm working from home. So through all of 2022, I'd fire up Spotify, turn the volume way down, and loop that cringe-worthy Baby Shark song by Pinkfong. I'm talking at least 4 times daily during work hours, sometimes as many as 30. A few days ago, much to my younger sister's chagrin, Baby Shark dominated her Spotify Wrapped for the year by a long shot. The runner-up wasn't even close, with about a quarter of the listens Baby Shark had. Pinkfong also nabbed the top artist spot. She wasn't exactly thrilled. In fact, she was pretty miffed that I'd made her Spotify Wrapped unshareable. But there was a hint of amusement beneath it all, and she did appreciate the dedication. My older sister and I found it hilarious. Even better, it led to a chat that resulted in my younger sister and me essentially calling a truce, agreeing to tone down the intentional annoyances.
Little bro's juice theft backfires with a twist. I was 16 and my brother was 13, and I had a particular fondness for lemonade. So much so that I always had some stocked in the fridge. Yet, like clockwork, my little brother had developed this habit of helping himself to it without so much as a buy your leave. One fine day, I hatched a plan for payback. I scoured the internet for the sourest lemon extract money could buy and set about making a batch of lemonade, mind you, without a single grain of sugar in sight. I poured in an extra generous portion of that super sour extract and for good measure gave it a taste test. Believe me, it was so sour it could make a grown person's face crumple like a piece of paper. Satisfied with my wicked creation, I slipped it back into the fridge and patiently bided my time. Fast forward about 6-7 hours, and my brother arrives home from school. He makes a beeline for the fridge, probably envisioning a tall glass of refreshing lemonade. He fills up a glass, takes a big gulp, and, well, let's just say that sour lemonade hit him like a bolt of lightning. He spent the next 5 minutes darting around the house, downing water and uttering some colorful words in my direction. Suffice it to say, my brother never again dared to lay a finger on my lemonade without asking.
Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you.